Okay, it's good like this? Yes. I guess this is the last one, no? Or even the last one, no, there's another one. So I will talk about LLMs. It's something that is on the side of FileMaker, but I think that perhaps it can be interesting for many people who wants to start with artificial intelligence. So first of all, I want to introduce myself. I am Nicolas Franco. I am PhD in physics. I was working in physics for many years, more than 13, 14, doing research in different labs. And some years ago, like 20 years, more than 20, 25 years ago, I shift and I start a company with my brothers on technological stuff. I mean, we have a small consultant company that's named Mr. Houston. We are based in Madrid. We are around 60 persons. We have another hub in Mexico. And we start also a small division of FileMaker also 20 years ago, or more, 25 years ago. And this is important to tell that in our company we mix different technologies. We're not only working on FileMaker, we work in many other technologies, and we have a special group of guys that are working on artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence that we will show you is sometimes can be very complicated, so you need a very mathematical level so to understand and to work with. But at a certain point, we try to mix FileMaker and artificial intelligence. The things that I want to show you, I mean, we were working since 10 years or something like this, or more than 10 years in this stuff in what now everybody knows as the LLMs that are part of NLP. And we are very theoretical at this point, but it happens that the last times has become, you know, very easy to implement. It's not anymore this barrier that is a mathematical point that in order to really enjoy and try to take advantage of these LLMs, right? Before we start, let me show some examples of what really are we doing. And this is an example of what we can do. Of course, what happened is since GPT-4, some of these examples are a little bit, let's say, not updated because those examples are made like 5-6 months ago. We're working on many other ones, but are really interesting to see what are able to do. I don't know if, yeah, I think we can show. What I will show you is how to easy take advantage of the LLMs with documents. So, for example, I have different examples. This one is an invoice that I took from internet. It's really the first one that I found. And let me see if I can show you perhaps a little bit better. This is the invoice. It's a standard invoice. It's on PDF. And what I will do is to make a new one and to drop my invoice in my solution. Later on, I will show you how it works. And now we can ask many things to the invoice. For example, what is this document about? For example, and hopefully this document is an invoice demo. Slice invoice into test business for web design for an amount. And he explains what is. Let me show you the invoice in detail so you can see really what is the invoice. No, it's how you can ask them more granular stuff. So like, what is the address? What is the address of the sender, for example, and the address of the sender, and it gives you the address of the sender. You can ask him, for example, what is the zip code of the receiver, and give you the zip code of the receiver. You can even ask about what is the amount, but also we can ask, for example, things like what is the percentage of the tax. All right. And they say tax percentage is not specified on the document, right? You can say, you can ask about what is inside. And one of the problems most of the time is try to take to really understand the document with the data that are not inside the document. For example, as you can say, I know you cannot say very easily, but it says paid in the back of the document. And why I am showing you this is because the idea is try to automatize a process in order to take advantage of the artificial intelligence to understand document and automatically, to retrieve data and to make much more easy, no? And so we have to take into account that there are some data that we can retrieve, but other that should be calculated that sometimes are much more difficult, no? This is an example, but of course, there is one thing. In here we have a language of reply. What is good is that we can ask in different language, we can ask them to reply in different language also. We can say, okay, if we want to reply it in Spanish, they ask in Spanish. Of course, we can put any single language that, most of the Roman languages are easy to put on, but other languages that are not Romanic are much more difficult, especially, those Asian language, right? Another example that I can show you, for example, is this one. It is much more difficult document to understand. This is a document that I took also from internet, that is the game of poker. It's a document where explain more or less how to play poker and what is a bluff, what are the cards, the different types of ranks of hands and so on. I say that is 29 document pages, so you can also, we can also try with this document. And we can ask many different stuff to this document related to the document itself and related also to ideas, not only paragraph or not only words that are in the document, but also ideas that are inside. One thing that is important is that we are only taking into account the data that are on the documents. It means that we are not really going to internet, we are not asking to a GPT or going to another LLM and asking them for information. Let's say, for example, if I ask who is Messi, I hope that everybody knows who is Messi. They say that there is no O, it's in Spanish. Let me ask again. Of course, they say there is no information about Messi. It means that. No, I will show you later. Yeah, but it's a little bit more complicated. I mean, you need, of course, you have to send the information, but you don't send really the PDF. And this is why it's a little bit, I don't know if you were the other day in the LLM demonstration about they're supposed to have, one script step about directly, asking for GPT another LLM. The problem, basically, I will show you later, is that when it's a text, a big text, you cannot ask directly about a document because it doesn't give you results. You have to do one indexation, tokenization. There's many steps that you have to, let's say, cut your text in little pieces. And these little pieces, you have to make a bag of words. And this bag of words is the one that you give to the LLM. And this is the problem that, it's the first step for a newbie, is the one that they are really trying now, is directly to have a script function asking for the LLM. But it's a little bit more complicated if you want to work properly. And this is why I'm showing how to connect to, there's another way to ask the other ZLM and you have to do properly, right? And this I will show you later. So in this case, we can ask, of course, the same, what is this document about? And the document about the game of poker is explain the rules, and more or less it tells you what is the document. And you can ask them some things that really are inside the document, but are some ideas. For example, when is a good idea to bluff? And I will show when is a good idea to bluff. And it say a good time to bluff in poker is when a player doesn't believe they have the best hand in the table and acting. Here, if we really read the document, you have to believe me, there's many areas where they say what is a bluff. More or less, they say you have to bluff here, or more or less, but it doesn't explain really what is a bluff. So what happened is that in this case, the difference between the other case where we asked for a calculation and it was not possible to have this calculation, here we are asking for a text, trying to understand the whole text and trying to give information that is inside but not directly in a certain point of the text. And in this case, we can do it properly. Really to understand the ideas that are on the text and to retrieve information about what's asked about the text, is this possible? Not when you have to do calculation. It's much, we can do it. I will later on tell you how to do it, but not very easily, right? And, for example, I have another one that is good because I didn't knew how much should I have to pay in taxes from my earnings. And hopefully, if things work, poker winnings are subject to taxation. In some cases, estimate tax as 25%. So, again, it explains what is the taxes. And it, again, in a long paper, what is good is that you don't need to read the whole paper to retrieve information that are on some aspect. Why is good? In our case, we are some clients that they have to fulfill a lot of paperwork and they need to have information about the paperwork and they have to read the whole paper that perhaps is 100, 200, 300 pages, and after they have to check if there is some information inside the paper. And it's very, really long time consuming to read and after to take into account where is the information. And it saves a lot of time. You put your paper and you ask, is this information inside? Is this other? And it tells you, and we have built, a special solution where when you ask, they tell you where in the paper it's asking, and it highlights on a different color, so you can check very, very easily. This is one of the things that, as example, we can do with these guys. No. Another example, and this is much more easy to see. Let's say, for example, we have a CV. It's a CV that I took from internet. I don't know if probably this person doesn't exist, and it was as an example of CV, and let me. And now I will put you here so you can more or less check. We can ask, for example, last name of the person in this document. And the last name of the person in this document is Nell. So here, in any place, he say that is the last person, but we understand more or less that is last person. But what is good is when I want to fill a database after with the data, I don't want an answer that is the last name of the person in this document is Neil. I want only Neil. So I can ask him, give me only the last name of the person in this document. The last name of the person in this document. This document does not provide the last name of the person. This is something that it goes wrong. Why? Well, sometimes it's give me, and sometimes I don't know why, but because usually it works. Let me try another one. For example, position of the person in this document. This document. Check if it has indexed everything correctly. Holds the position, sales engineer. Yes. And let me check if give me only the position. You gave me, because I know we changed one weight of the things. Bueno, anyway, what we try to say is that this case that I only want one part of the document depends only on how you send to LLM to give the answer back, and usually there is no problem in give you only the response that is cell engineer. Here, for example, if you see in the document, for example, in the left, they have different languages. And we can ask how many languages, I don't know, bueno, Janine speaks, or the person in this document speaks. I don't know if it's Janine. Sometimes, many of the times, English and Deutsch, and it says English and Deutsch. Also, there is a problem because here English and Deutsch has scales that are not, is difficult to understand, but we can solve this problem. I mean, this is something that we work with graph and we can solve this. It's not difficult to understand and to solve this problem. Also, you can ask them, for example, this is also another problem that I will show you the problems because I tell you how to really fix this problem later on. For example, in what country, in what, we can ask where Janine is born. And it gives you usually the right place, that is San Antonio. But if I want to know where, in what country, Janine is born, it cannot find the country. Janine was born in the United States. It cannot find most of the time the country. And sometimes it finds, and sometimes it's the same that happens before. The country is not there, it's San Antonio. We don't see very well the PDF, right? Let me check a little bit better. This is better? Yeah. Place of birth, San Antonio. And the country, usually you should not have, it's very difficult to know the country because for this, you have to go to, Yeah, but this is the address where she lives, but it's not the country. Look, the top right, if I say where Janine is living, Janine is living in Los Angeles, say United States. Los Angeles, say United States, and gives, it can differentiate because in the other one is a place of birth. So even if you don't ask directly what is the place of birth, if you ask where does she is born, the LLM understands. And what is difficult to see is how to manage to take information outside this paper and only understanding that I want the information that is in this PDF. And this is what is difficult. As I say, if I ask him who is Messi, he says, I don't know who is Messi. But if I ask him, where is San Antonio, it can give me back the information. Because, of course, it's not here. He goes to another place, retrieve information, and is coming back. But what is difficult is only going to pick up information that is related to this PDF. No information that is not related to this PDF. Because we say San Antonio, your United States is related to San Antonio, but Messi is nothing about here. Probably if in the PDF is something related to soccer and Argentina and best player in the world, even if Messi is not in the paper, probably you can ask and it will give you back the information. And this is what is important, how to manage really to have an LLM that can help you, but taking into account that it's very important not only to have the whole information in the world, but sometimes only few information that you know and you want and you manage. And this is very important. For example, we have most of our clients are in the bank sector, and all the information that they have to manage is very specifically the ones that they have the ones that they give them officially. They don't want to have other information that they're not allowed to manage, the ones that they have, right? So this is basically one solution that we made. This solution we made probably in one morning, 2-3 hours, no more than this. And this is what is amazing, because of course sometimes it doesn't give you outstanding results. It can give you the power. Working on, you can fulfill documents very easily, you can understand documents very easily, and okay, how you do it in building this, very, very straightforward and very easily. So this is what I am talking about today. And now let me show you how it works, really. First of all, I want to introduce really different concepts, because at the end I have plenty of time, so I prefer to go from scratch and try to show you or try to explain you every different aspect in a simple way, but in the way that everybody understands exactly the same. What is artificial intelligence? The definition of Wikipedia is the intelligence of machines or software, and also a field of study in computer science. But at the end, artificial intelligence is something very heterogeneous. I mean, it's something that nobody has an idea specifically what does it mean. And the key word is intelligence, because artificial, everybody knows, is something that is not built, is not directly related to the human, is machines or built by other machines. But what is intelligence? And intelligence, there is one definition that I like because I found somewhere that is very appropriate for this, is knowing how to make difficult things easy. It means that really there are many things that are very, very difficult, and if you can do it very easily, it means that you are intelligent. Usually when you have let's say analytical intelligence, it means that something that is very analytical, you can do it properly and very easily. If you are emotional intelligence, you have emotional intelligence, means that you have the skills to relate to other people very easily. I mean, in any way, to be intelligent for me is something that helps you to make things very easy. And in this sense, of course, machines or any things that is built by a human being can, in certain way, can make easy a lot of stuff. I mean, for example, the ones that I give you, I mean, I give you a document and retrieve information very easily. This is to be intelligent. But also, these other areas what is not really intelligent. So we have to be extremely clear what we can do with artificial intelligence and we cannot do. And this is very important. This is very important because it's very related with the LLMs and what we can do with the LLMs. In artificial intelligence, there is one field that is named now generative AI, that is the part that we have built, the humans, in order to generate new contents. It means that really we can make from scratch something that has not been before, nobody has done before. Nowadays, this is incredible because with generative AI, we can make music, we can make pictures, we can write, we can make graph, we can do many, many stuff. And most of the people doesn't agree that is from scratch, because if you want to use AI, you need a lot of data. And those data, at the end, without those data AI, you cannot really make anything. So is from scratch or is not from scratch? I don't know. There is one example that is very incredible. That's they took 10 of the better, directors of music, classic music in the world, and they let them hear different music from Bach, and also other ones that they were generated by machine, and they were also very similar to the Bach, the ones that composed Bach at the time. And they were not able to differentiate one or the others. So at the end, really, you can make extremely good things in a generative AI, but you need data. And those data, someone has to make it before, right? And in generative AI, what is an LLM? An LLM is a language model that is built by neural networks. And what it does, really, it helps us to generate many things in the language, also in the language, not really only in the language, but in the language and in non-structured data. What we name non-structured data, and mainly, the language and also the text and also images and also songs if you want, right? So because it's important to understand what is the LLM, The LLM start is really a statistical model. I mean, really what we try to understand in an LLM is that we take everything that we are talking, that we are writing, and we made a statistically probability that there is a word before and after. I mean that, for example, if I tells you a word, like for example, a ball, you don't know if I'm talking people that are playing in the sun with a ball, or someone that is playing tennis with a ball, someone is playing soccer with a ball, you don't know. But if I mix the word ball with Orside, and a million or corner or score or Chelsea, you almost know that it's soccer. It's because I mix 2 or 3 different words that I can understand what are you talking about. So basically what you do is you take tons, zillions of documents, and you start to know what are the probabilities to have one word in one sentence, in close, not even in the same sentence, but in the same surrounding, and have the probability of to be this word together. And you start this calculation, this model that is a statistical model in the sense that you can generate words in taking the maximum probability of what was happened before. No? And the first model, this is what we say NLP, that is natural language processing. The first model were statistical one, and we start to put in what we name deep learning and neural networks. Neural networks, what they say is what we want to retrieve, we make like a neural and we have some weights and it's very mathematical. So at the end, you have to train a lot of different variables, and these variables is the ones that give you the probabilities, and you have to train zillions of variables. It's very complex, and it takes a lot of time. So the first neural networks was taking a lot of time. But after, someone in the, let's say, starting the century, let's say 20 years ago, a little bit less, 18 years ago, start to work with what we name recurrent neural nets. It means that in order to be able to train in less time, you take you take like starting points, not from scratch, and you put in the same loop. So that at the end, these things goes extremely fast. And we start what we name the long short-term memory. Long short-term memory is exactly the same, but in order to be able to have a sentence, because before the long short-term memory, we were only able to understand or to give some words, so only a few words, but not really long sentences. And it happens in the, like 10 years ago, or 8 years ago, there was one paper from guys from Google who started what we named transformers. Transformers changed the architecture of these neural networks completely, and it was really the first step to the LLMs. And in this case, it's a bit complicated, but you can divide all this calculation in different layers, and those layers make the things go extremely fast. And they start the first LLM that was BERT, and after the GPT, that is what most of the people knows a lot. And in the GPT, what we do, this token or this weight, they were transformed on vectors, and those vectors were modelized in order to be extremely fast. So as you see, the LLMs, there is like 20 years, and the people are working in the same area, trying to have calculation extremely fast. No? Nowadays, there is tons of LLM. Everybody knows GPT-4, but it's BERT, Palm, Llama 2, Orca, Vicuna, Falcon, and this is what is important, that nowadays is like a commodity. Everybody knows only GPT-4, but you can use many other LLMs that are on the market, most of them for free, and others you have to pay. And depending what you want, you can really use one of those LLM, because some of them are good for one thing and other ones are good for other things. So it's good to understand. But what is important is that of course, nobody is using it because you need a technical level in order to understand. And this is what is important also, that a couple of years ago, or 3 years ago, there start a framework where you can use those LLM without understanding a shit. It means you can really take it from scratch, put it on your framework, have all the components, and start to try this LLM and try to really put on your solutions without understand what they're doing. It's that kind of black box, and it's now much more easy to do it, right? This is I don't know if someone has seen before, but this is the tree of all the LLMs and all these transformer and all of these different technologies that start from 2018, when this paper from Google start with the transformer. As you can see, there is tons of different transformer until now. And I think it's becoming one of the areas of engineering more and more hot nowadays, where the people is putting a lot of money, a lot of companies or startups are growing like crazy, and is something that I think we should know and take advantage of it. So what are the LLMs have a kind of limits, and the limits of LLMs, so you should understand also in order to apply in these solutions, are those ones, and part of the limits. I mean, those are the most important ones. Speed and cost, of course. The speed and the cost of an LLM, if you want to train, is very high. So most of the time what you want is an LLM that is already trained, that is already with all the weights done, with all the tokens done, so you can do perhaps the last mile, the last train. But if you want to do your own LLM, it's very, very expensive to do it, and because you need a lot, most of them, they need GPUs, and the cost of the GPUs at this level is very high. And the speed, of course. If you want to train every day your LLM in order to have news or have information that is refreshed, the speed, I mean, you need a lot of time. And so the cost and the speed is one of the limit. Hallucination, sometimes you can, if it's not well trained, you can ask one thing and they give you another one that is there's no one that you expected. Of course, you are training with data, and depends of the data that you are training, and dependent what is in the what is the quality of the information that you are training, you can have good or bad solution at the end, or at the end. Is not always, you don't always have the perfect how you name no, output, yes, if you want the perfect output, but when you have you don't have really good starting data. Lack of transparency, this is related to the last one. It means you don't know how they work. It's something that is incredible. There is a paper in the last, it's from before summer. A guy is from Harvard, or no, MIT. They built a paper trying to explain how the results with GPT-3 were so outstanding, and they didn't found, because it's a paper where they say that they don't know how the results are so good, because they suppose not be so good, but then nobody understands why they are so good. So really, it's a lack of transparency how it works, because nobody understands how it works. I mean, the mathematical point of view, everybody understands, but you don't understand really how it makes the results so good. Nobody knows. It's something that is really incredible. Of course, you have data privacy. Data privacy depends if you put your LLM, completely under control. But most of the LLMs that you have access now, your data, you have to send data, so you have this data privacy. Lack of control sometimes is the same. A prompt injection. Prompt injection, it means that sometimes what happens most of the time is that the LLMs that are not really under 100% control of one person, they use the data that the people are sending to make better the results. So it means that you can try to send information that is not good, and this is what they name prompt injection. It means that, imagine that you start giving text to a prompt, to GPT, telling him that my name is not Nicolas, is Paul. At the end, he made the train and he understands that I am Paul and not Nicolas, because most of the people, or many people, have sent the information telling him I am Paul and not Nicolas. And this is what they name prompt injection. It means that you have to be very careful, because the problem nowadays is that there is no really big amount of information in the web that they can take. You know, they took, for making this train, GPT-4 took any information that was available on the net, so there's no fresh information. And the information that is grabbing now is information that is made also by LLMs. So it's something that is kind of bizarre. They don't know really what will happen, and this is what they name prompt injection, right? So, to overpass these problems, there is two things that we have to take into account, and this is important. I mean, all of this is important to understand what you can do with this high stack that we'll introduce now. That is first of all, is fine-tuning. It means when you have an LLM, one of the things that you should do is to make a fine-tuning. It means most of the time that you have a client, and your client working in a sector, in a specific vertical, and you want to have information specifically with something, and you have to give this fine-tuning. It means you give this information to the LLM in order to have another special training in this information. It means that when you give data or you ask something, they will retrieve, or they will give you back, you know, the result according to this last fine-tuning. The other information usually it uses to compose the sentence and compose the ideas, but not for the better results. And the second one, that is the most important one, are the LLM agents. The LLM agents is something that appears very, very like 1 year, 1.5 years ago. The agents is, I don't know if some of you are aware about GPT-4. The difference between GPT-4 and GPT-3 is really the agents. Because in GPT-3, if you ask it for something that was not trained for, they will giving you back information, or information that was not right, or telling that there is no such information. And now, this is because they cannot train every day. They cannot have access to specific information that is fresh. So now what they have is, when they don't have the information, they have this agent that connects to internet or to somewhere, and they give you back really the response. And this is what is incredible. For example, if I am, I have ChatGPT, and in ChatGPT, I can use, no, a ver en dónde está. Okay. I can use, for example, 3.5. There was no an agent, and I can ask him, what was the last result of the Real Madrid? Everybody knows Real Madrid. I'm sorry, I do not have access of, but now, with ChatGPT-4, what was the last result of the Real Madrid? When you ask, it doesn't know. So it takes the agent that you will see is Bing, say, oh, I don't have the information, so let me ask Bing if he has the information. So it has Bing, Bing's got the information, he gives back, and he makes the whole sentence together. And now, hopefully, it will tell me the last result of the Real Madrid. A ver, aquí, hoy. It was, a ver, regenerate. It was an error generating response. I don't know. But anyway, if you, I don't want to waste more time, but if browsing the Bing, and it will give the result. No. By searching Real Madrid match result, this is visiting Reuters. Real Madrid last match was 3-0 victory. I mean, he visited many places until he found the results. And these also are agents, are really not GPT. It builds some agents inside in the sense that he goes and takes the information. For example, if you ask for equation to solve a difficult equation, usually it cannot solve the equation because an LLM is only about information that already has manipulated. And those equations, the result, usually you don't know what is. But you can connect to Wolfram, the guys who build Mathematica, and okay, solve me this equation, I give you back the answer. So those are agents. So what is important, the agents? The agents are important because for most of the things that I want to ask, like for example, before when I was asking in a PDF, okay, give me the address. They don't know the address because it was only the city, but not the country, or perhaps I don't have a zip code, or I don't have something. I want to understand what is the percentage of the invoice. I have to do a calculation. The LLMs are they don't do it. But if you take one of the agents and you use the agent, you can do many other stuff. Not only with the LLM, do calculations or do whatever. So these things, these things, it seems that are very difficult to use, no? Because, I mean, of course, artificial intelligence, you have the LLMs, mathematical is very complicated. You have the fine-tuning, you have the agent, you have to understand what is the fine-tuning, you have to understand what is an agent, you have to put together, you have to code, and this is very difficult. It's outside of what FileMaker is doing, right? So, but now there is some frameworks that help us a lot. What is a framework? Framework usually is a program that you can use in order to help you to do some task. No, that usually for LLMs are these three frameworks: the Llama index, the LangChain, and Haystack. That is the one that I want to introduce. Right? Haystack. What is an open source LLM framework, and is used to make really on production, and it gives you all the tools that you need to really connect an LLM with whatever you want. It has all the API already built. It has many of the agents already built. You can connect to many LLMs, and you can do whatever you want in a very easy way. I mean, you can really start to manipulate and to do artificial intelligence by your own without understanding almost nothing and connecting really with many other platforms. In this case, with FileMaker, because it's with the API is very easy, right? How it works really, what is really the Haystack? Haystack has already all the connectors with most of the things that you want or you can use. It means to OpenAI, I mean, it can be connected to GPT-4, to Hugging Face, to Cohere, to Azure, to Amazon SageMaker. The idea is that you can use any document or anything that is outside. You can connect to any of these platforms that has intelligence, give back the answer, and you can use also any kind of database to store. Because the problem of using GPT-4, for example, that is the one most of the people using, is that imagine that you want to use on an industrial scale. The problem is how you really do in order to put all the information in a database. if you make 10, 20, 100 of queries or prompts, you want to have really an historical of those prompts at the results. How you do it? You don't want to copy and paste. So really how you do it in order to take advantage of this LLM and put on production, on a production that you want. And this is what is difficult. I mean, of course, if you have a sentence, you know, a script function that you can connect to LLM and give you back the answer, like the one that we present, is very good. But you cannot do fine-tuning, you cannot do an agent, you depends of the LLM, and you depends of really the connection to one final product, and you cannot manipulate this product, right? And for this is hashtag that's much more powerful than to have only one script step, right? So in our case, what we did, we took as a front FileMaker, we make front solution, so we can put different, we can put documents, we can have a prompt, we can make whatever we want. We can use our scripts in order to make it easy to put the information. We use as a middle the hashtag in order to connect. And of course, we can, as a backend, we can use different databases, but we can use also FileMaker if we want. I mean, in between, we can use FileMaker, but we can connect with other databases. Of course, in fact, really what we do is we connect for making the calculation another backend that is, I think is MonPy, but also to store the result FileMaker. I mean, we have a mixture of both, but you can use whatever you want, no? So at the end, we have this connection between hashtag and FileMaker. And what is important of hashtag, hashtag is built, is in Python. I mean, everything is built in Python, but is made, let's say, prompts or lines where you can code like a script. It's very, very similar what is the script of FileMaker. I mean, you have only to do different calls, and what they name pipelines. So these pipelines, really, you have to have different calls to different libraries. They give you result, another call, they give you result, another call, they give you result. And most of them, they act as a black, you know, something that you don't understand what is inside, but you don't care, because as soon as you trust them, really, you ask something and they give the results, and if you trust that they give properly, I mean, really, you don't care what is inside, no? It's like a black box, but it works really, really fast and well. We name that is the conductor of the orchestra, really is the one who manages everything, right? So in our case, we use the API, the REST API that they have, a hashtag has built inside this REST API is extremely well built, so you have tons of different functions to call, to retrieve, to modelize that are very, very good. And of course, you have to code in Python, but it's not really, I mean, it's the only step that makes a little bit difficult, or perhaps is a stopper for someone if it doesn't know Python. But you don't need an extremely high level of Python, really, with a knowledge, with a standard knowledge, you can perfectly, you know, use the haystack. And you can do semantic search, generative question answer, chatbots. You can really perform whatever you want in a very high level. No? So finally, what is the difference and how it works really what we build? What we built was something that was made in the pipeline on the different steps. It's not so easy. I mean, what we say that is you cannot send directly to an LLM document is something that here I want to show you the different steps that you have to do, but all of these steps are very straightforward because are components of this pipeline that you can take only. You have is like a recipe like if you are cooking, they give you a recipe, you put one together, they give me this one, this one, this one, and after you can have very nice results very easily. First one, of course, you have to have a setup of the environment, install the haystack. First, second, you have the document store. You have always a store where to put the documents. And this is also standard for them. I mean, any document that you put, they have a standard document store, and you can use Elasticsearch, you can use SQL, you can, in our case, no, in our case, we use it OpenSearch. OpenSearch is a standard and free store document. But you can connect directly. I mean, you don't have a couple of lines of code, that is very easy. You have to pre-process any document. When you have one of those documents, what is good is to take and to pre-process the text data. It means that you have to remove all what is in a PDF, the data. Because in a PDF, when you take the PDF, they have a lot of data that text that belongs to the format, another belongs to the information, and you have to remove the information. You have to separate what is information, what is data. And you have to index the document. It means that you have to take all the information that is inside, you have to cut and paste it, and you have to index. All of these are automatically. I mean, you only have to tell them. Pre-process, it does. Index, it does. As I tell you, you only need to know that you have to do it. Retrieve setup, it means you have to configure two things, that is the retriever and the reader. These two things are the most important, because the retriever, it means that the information I want to take and send to the LLM. And the reader is to read the information that give me the LLM. These two are really the two more important stuff, the retriever and the reader. But also, they're automatically done. And you have the pipeline configuration, that is the document store where they configure all the pipeline. Everything, when it's done, you put on a query. And of course, you have two things that you can do. That is a fine-tuning, that is optional, and iteration or evaluation if you want to do it, many times in a more automatic way or more industrial way. No, and you can do it mixed. As you can see, those are examples of pipelines. It means that without knowing anything, you only have to say the name. In this case, I named Vicuda because we use different LLMs. One of the LLMs that we use is Vicuda, the other is GPT. And I put a name. I only have to say input, a query that I did before, name, and input, retriever, are the names of the libraries. Only have to know the names of the libraries. You can put one after the other, and it does, like a script, one until the other, no? And finally, this is very on a schema, what it happens. You have the text, you have the we put everything on a S3, that is Amazon Web Service, and S3, it doesn't need really a very strong machine. You can even put on a computer, on a laptop, but depends of the LLM that you want. And what is good is for security or for privacy information, you can put on a computer, private computer. You can put your LLM on your computer. You can, but in this case, depends of the LLM model. Can be much more strong or less strong. But in our case, we put an Amazon Web Service as S3 bucket, and we index in the pipeline the hosted document store, text converter, preprocessor indexing, retrieve model, and predictor answer. You ask, and the predictor answer. And it's very easy. As I told you, we did this, of course, knowing on the haystack already on the machines, and the Amazon Web Service already was in place, but probably in one day, or more or less than one day, the whole thing. I mean, the FileMaker and the Amazon. So finally, what FileMaker actually does. What he does is the user interface, the input data, and the document storage, in our case, and the haystack is the artificial intelligence model, the LLM access, and all the agents. So you can go back and forth between FileMaker, haystack, haystack, FileMaker, and of course, haystack is the one that communicate with anything that is outside that you need, the agents, the LLMs, or whatever. So you use as a platform very easily. And of course, at the end, when you have the result, you can use FileMaker in order to have a dashboard, put the results, have something beautiful in order to send to your client. Because, of course, this can be a very nice project, but if the clients, what the client doesn't want is to work on a pie chart, on a, let's say, on a console where it's only data. Do you need anything that is beautiful and is easy and is usable? And probably, I mean, in FileMaker, this is much more easy to do it, right? So at the end, LLMs are very powerful, of course. They are very easy to use. But with Haystack or another framework, other cases are very complicated really to, complicated. You need a knowledge that perhaps is out of the people, most of the people that we are here in this conference. So using this LLM, you don't need, or Haystack, you don't need a knowledge of artificial intelligence, or at least not very significant knowledge. And FileMaker for this and for building application is a very good companion, is a perfect companion, because it helps much more to do the stuff that is complicated to build in Haystack, that is the front and the usability of the final product. That's it. I don't know if he is the one that you expected. It was a lot of artificial intelligence, but I want to show is that it really is an extremely nice tool if you want to start with artificial intelligence and not depend only on the set of the script functions that perhaps FileMaker want to build. If you want to go further or you have projects and you want to really try to leverage, and the artificial intelligence in those projects, Haystack is something at the LLM level, not other things. The Haystack is very easy and is very powerful to start. Thank you. I don't know if you have questions, someone?
I have one question. I'm sorry. I have to ask. Are those PDF?
Yeah, this is private.
Can I
Yeah.
these documents?
Yeah, I mean, Haystack you can implement in any single machine. It has on Linux, you go, and you put in whatever. And of course, if you want a private LLM, you have to take one of the private the LLMs that are on, and you install in the machine, your machine, and you do the training, the last mile train, the specific training for your client. But of course, you can take one of the LLMs and you have to put,
So
but
if you want it private,
no, you can put directly the one that is, and you put on your machine, because they are free. There's tons of LLMs that are already free with all the tokens, trained. But most of the time, you have to do this last mile because are very general trainer. Or, of course, you cannot have a GPT-4 that is very, very, has, I think that is billions, no, is, what's your name? Billions of data. You cannot have this GPT-4 that is very general and you can ask whatever, it will give you an answer very properly. Because the others are very nice, at probably 70 billion token or something like this, are very strong ones. But at the end, you have to do this fine-tuning. And this fine-tuning is very easy, because you only have to say, okay, give me fine-tuning. You have to give documents about the fine-tuning, and maybe you have to have a lot of reports of what you do. You want to train, to give them, and do the fine-tuning, and you can ask whatever you want in this area. Because most of the LLMs are very general trained. You can ask about soccer, you can ask about finance, you can ask about beauty, or you can ask about whatever. So if you want only ask about, you have...
insurance.
Yeah, insurance. You have to give information about insurance and let's say, okay, this is the most valuable. So the token has to have a special way to this information. But this is very easy also to do it with Haystack. I mean, it's something that used to be very complicated and now it's very easy. And then you only have to put in your machine, connect, that is automatically connect, have the wait. I mean, you have to wait at least of time. But let's say 2 years ago, it was very, very complicated to do, extremely complicated. Mathematically very difficult and very complicated. Now it's comparable, it's very, very easy. It's like trying to learn FileMaker to someone who would understand what is programming. It's the same level.
Applications.
Yeah.
And try to.
Yeah. No, I mean, we have, what I show you is something that we build on, I tell you in the morning, but we have projects already and clients that are working with this technology. It means one of the projects that we have, as I told you, is a client that is a consultancy to give you, the ISO. You know what the ISO are, ISO is those certifications that the ISO 2000, 9000, 9001, it means that you have certification about security, about whatever. Those guys, normally they give them 300, 400 paper and that they have to analyze. And they have a list of things that has to be included in those papers. And they put the document inside and they have, let's say, part of the monitor where they have the questions. I say, this question, where it is? I say, here, where it is? They fulfill. Give me the names of everybody that is in charge of the security department. They give the names. They tell you where the names are. Of course, what they do, they have to double check, but it goes directly to the name. Say, give me name and address of the people of the security department. Give me the names of the people who has been touching the servers in the last 6 months. Give me the name, and retrieve the names. They give them where it is, and they can check. Yes, it is, and it goes faster. This is...
And it goes directly to our database.
No, it goes directly to a database. It will fulfill a document, and the document gives you back completely fulfilled. Before it was any single of this work used to take like 10 days, between 1 and 2 weeks, and now it does in 1 day and a half, something like this. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, the amount of value that gives you, and it's the project we built it in 2 months. This project, I mean, knowing hashtag and knowing we have to code, we have to all the front that is the much gives a lot of value, but it's a project of 2 months. In 2 months you can build this. That is, for me, is extremely valuable for many clients. I don't know, and this is for real. I mean, they are now working on it. Okay, thank you very much.